and welcome to Transparent with Tina. Today's guest is phenomenal. He's the author of 3 books. His latest is the SuperHealth Diet, which has been called the most remarkable nutrition book of the 21st century by Dr. Richard Lippmann, who was a 1996 nominee for the Nobel Prize in Medicine for his work in anti-aging. He is here to tell us about his product, LivingFuel, which he created for his wife who was very sick and doctors could not figure out the answer. He did by creating this product, LivingFuel. Phenomenal. You don't want to miss this show. Up next, KC Craichy. Welcome, Casey. So nice to see you today.
Tina, it is my pleasure.
I love your background too. I really do. It's like
it's my office. It's my office
I was going to say it's a nice office. I like it.
It switches and then it's my studio.
Cool, fantastic. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. We have so much to cover today. You have created a product called LivingFuel, which we're going to get into in a minute. But I want to hear the story behind how you created it and also what you were doing before you created LivingFuel.
I was CEO of Arsco Medical Systems. That is a transesophageal cardiac pacemakers. So I was familiar with research, and it was literally as a catheter you put down the nose or the mouth, and you put behind the left atrium, and you can control the heart. It's pretty fantastic. And so that was what I was doing. And I was married in 1991. And my wife was formerly Miss Florida and Miss Florida USA, and she competed both Miss America and Miss USA, and won a town award at Miss America and first in swimsuit and third runner-up at Miss USA. So I'm telling you that
she's beautiful. I've seen her in a couple of the videos. Yeah, she's amazing.
So we were married. Fast forward a couple of years, we're married. We had one son, and she, like a cold, came down all of a sudden with clinical depression, suicidal thoughts, and panic attacks.
Did you say it started off with a cold, or did I miss?
No, it's like she caught it like a cold because she was fearless prior to that.
Okay.
She would go fly anywhere, drive anywhere, do anything, just completely fearless. And just like it was a cold, like one day she's fearless and one day she's as fearful as she can't even leave our bedroom for like 2 weeks. And so here I am, I don't know anything about nutrition except for how to make my muscles bigger with protein. And so I'm familiar with the research. So she wanted to go to a doctor. I said, doctor, I don't know what kind of doctor. So I took her to a family practice doc, and they were just about giddy. They handed me this book. They said, hey, this book is called Anxiety Disorder. It's a new thing. We know how to treat it. Xanax, Zoloft, psychotherapy. And I said, well, that doesn't feel right. I mean, she was perfectly healthy 2 weeks ago, and now you want to just put her on drugs. I said, how long is she going to have to be on these drugs? And they said, well, we don't really know, but she can live a normal life on these. And it just did not sound good. But my wife was desperate. So she says, give me. So she took the drugs. And so a couple of weeks into it, she said, these drugs are making me crazy. And sitting on some dude's couch I don't know, telling about my life is not working for me. So we got to find a different answer. So she stopped the drugs at that point. And that's when I started my journey, a 10-year journey. It's really been 25 years now, but of research, trial and error that led to my best-selling books and our company, LivingFuel, and our formulations and so on. And so that was the impetus for that. And so now 25 years later, she hasn't had a drug since, and she overcame that. And not only did she overcome that, many thousands of other people overcame similar things as a direct result. So that was sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, but, a lot of times we go through things for a motivation well beyond money. And it turns out that it is intended. It's meant to be.
Right. What's a greater motivation than a loved one, right? So her symptoms were anxiety and fear. Anything else?
Panic attacks.
And panic
completely
attacks.
No other symptoms. Now, interestingly, in the research over this period of time, I kept finding all kinds of things that had nothing to do with nutrition. I thought clinical nutrition was going to get me there. So I met the top clinical nutritionists in the world, top integrative doctors, spent time with them, worked with scientists over a period of time to make what's now is LivingFuel. But I came across multiple other things. There were other lifestyle factors that actually had very significant impact. And so we had hydration and nutrition and exercise and stress environmental hazards, and meditation and prayer, in addition to the clinical nutrition. And so clinical nutrition is super high impact, and anybody can get amazing impact. I regularly do this with doctors. They come and say, I don't feel good. I can get them feeling good in 15 minutes if you take the right stuff. And so the thing is that there are these lifestyle factors. I mean, if you don't have good hydration, if you're drinking something instead of water all the time, you're going to be in trouble at some point. Every one of these particular ones, and I generally ask when I'm on a show, I say, listen, if you're watching right now or listening, get your piece of paper out and write on the list, okay? Write hydration and give yourself a score. Do you get a 10 on hydration based on what you know today? Because after today, you're going to know more than what you know today. But based on your current knowledge, are you drinking things instead of water? Are you drinking a lot of water? I mean, does your skin look like hydrated? Are you that sort of thing? Give yourself a score, 1 to 10. Right. And then on nutrition, how are you doing on nutrition? Now you're going to learn a lot more about nutrition today, things that you will never hear, just hardly hear anywhere else. But give yourself a score. Oh, I really shouldn't eat this. And I know that 2 out of my 3 meals are really terrible food. And so I'll give myself a whatever. Give yourself a score, 1 to 10. And then exercise. Give yourself a score. People know. If exercise were a drug, everybody watching would pay any amount for it, because it's like everybody knows it's good for you. Everybody knows we need to do it, but so few people are doing it. So write down, you're doing it or not, how you look in the mirror. How do you feel? And so then go on to stress. My goodness, how many people are stressed out? We know the stress is part of every disease at the root. How are you doing? How's your lifestyle? Is it a stressed out lifestyle? Or are you like really in peace? So give yourself 1 to 10, 10 being the best, right? And so then when you go to sleep, now most people are not sleeping well. Okay. There's a whole lot of reasons they're not sleeping well. And we discovered what those are and how you can actually reverse that in a very short period of time. There was a doctor here, a very famous influencer here at my home, I don't know, a week ago, and him and his wife went on a program that I put them on. And they said they hadn't slept through the night in years. They've been sleeping through the night every night since I put them on a program, because it's all part of the same process. None of these work on their own. Give yourself a score. If you're sleeping well. Are you sleeping 8 hours a night? Are you sleeping 6 hours a night? Are you getting up all the time or not? One little simple trick, people say, I got to get up to go to the bathroom. I said, well, what time did you have your last fluid before you went to bed? Well, right before bed. Well, don't have anything within 3 hours of going to bed. Drink all day long a lot, and then stop 3 hours before you go to bed, and you'll see a big difference tonight. Okay, it's all it's going to take. 1 to 10. And then environmental hazards. Okay, so stress, sleep, environmental hazards. I mean, how much organic food are you buying? Are you drinking tap water? Do you have the guy spraying on your chemicals on your lawn outside? Glyphosate? Are you drink? Have you your hair care products and your makeup and stuff? Is that organic? I mean, the list goes. That list. Give yourself a score. If you don't pay attention to any of that, then you better give a low score. And then meditation and prayer. I mean, there was a study at Duke University called the Mantra Project, probably 15 or 20 years ago, and they were literally trying to disprove prayer. And they put like 50% of the patients in a cardiac surgery list on a prayer list worldwide. Didn't tell the patients. It was a blinded study. And then the other 50% they didn't put on the prayer list. And the ones that were on the prayer list had 50% fewer side effects. Okay, prayer is not praying is literally malpractice. There's how many studies, and I'll show us that out there. It's ridiculous. So meditation, my gosh, people that meditate are less stressed. Oh, what? If you're less stressed, you actually sleep better. Yes, all of these are connected, and you do one, it's going to affect the other. So guess, if you got any of these scores, 6 or less, then you have physiologic consequences you are dealing with now, or you will be dealing with soon. And it's really simple to start making little steps in the right direction. Baby steps in the right direction in each of these areas are monster steps towards super health.
Man, you are speaking. I'm nodding. People that are listening to the podcast can't see me nodding my head, but people that are watching this on YouTube, I keep nodding my head. I mean, you are speaking my language. Absolutely. God for me is first, prayer. And, I've always had high levels of anxiety. That was due to my childhood. Meditation, definitely. And I did a whole show on meditation and how it calms your central nervous system down and your blood pressure and all the different areas physically and mentally that it addresses. And so let me ask you, and all the other, I want to stop you with the water. What would you say would be, if somebody had a score of 10, how much water should you be drinking?
Well, it's about how much. Everybody's different. I mean, I always say everyone's a clinical study of one. Okay. So don't get thirsty. Drink. I always say drink a bottle of water every 2 or 3 hours. Like an 8 ounce glass of water every 2 or 3 hours. okay,
Yeah.
every 2-3 hours. And then if you're drinking green tea or black tea or any of those other teas, the low caffeine ones before noon and the high caffeine ones before noon and the low ones after noon, if you're drinking those, they count also. If you have a LivingFuel, you're going to put 24 ounces of water in there or 12, whatever it is, you're going to count that water. So there's a lot of ways to get water. Dolphins, they get all their water from what they eat, and we get a lot of it that way too. So we're not, but if you're drinking stuff like soft drinks, I mean, you're drinking.
That's I've heard that's like putting plastic in your body.
It's insane. I mean, people that drink Diet Cokes, they actually gain weight. They don't lose weight.
And we're going to get into that in a minute because about the nutrition and how most heavy people are malnutrition, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And do you have any points of view on water so far as like alkaline water, pure?
Yeah, to me, I really used to think that was something. I read the book. I just threw one of them away. I had two of them. My library here is called Alkalize or Die. Okay, you ever read that book? I don't know, 25 years ago is one of the ones I read. That you got to be high alkaline all the time in order to keep stuff from growing and whatever. But the more you do the research, you realize that people with an acid reflux are actually having more of an alkaline problem and not an acid problem. It's literally insane. If you can take vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and drink it like 1 tablespoon of it in water and drink it, and it doesn't destroy your gut, guess what? You don't have an acid problem. You don't have GERD where you have to take the purple pill. You have actually a low acid problem, and you have all kinds of problems as a result because you got low acid. Why? Because you have low potassium, and you have low potassium. Then you drink this alkaline water all day long, and you're wondering how you're going to digest that steak you just ate. It doesn't happen, so you got low acid. As you get older, acid goes down. Why? Because the average intake of potassium should be 4,700 milligrams a day. Well, guess what people are getting? They're getting 1,000 a day. Well, guess what? The most important central pump in the entire body is called the sodium potassium pump. It's right there in the atrium of the heart. It's a tension between sodium and potassium, and it makes your heart beat. Okay. So if your heart is out of whack, you got to look at what is the sodium potassium pump doing. Well, if you're getting 1,000 milligrams of potassium, you should be getting 5,000 milligrams of potassium. Guess what? You now are eating 3,500 milligrams of sodium a day and 1,000 milligrams of potassium a day. You should be eating 25 on sodium max and 5,000 on potassium. So you literally have inverted the pump. So, wow, what does that do? Well, let's talk about arrhythmias. People have arrhythmias because they have low potassium and low magnesium, and the sodium potassium ratio is so off that it's literally causing the problems, and they're on drugs right now. There's a bunch of people right now watching that are taking drugs because their heart has a little arrhythmia.
Arrhythmia, yeah.
And so arrhythmias are caused mainly, it's all about the pump, okay? But the pump is not just in the heart, it's in every cell in the body. This is how ATP gets made. This is how stuff gets put in the cell and out of the cell. If your pump is inverted, you're going to have all kinds of physiologic problems, and your conventional medicine doc is never going to figure it out.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. Yeah.
And I tell people, I say, listen, what's a good potassium source? They always raise their hand. What's the answer to that?
Banana.
Everyone says 100%. I said, have you had
dates are actually better than banana?
Yes. Have you had your 15 bananas today? That's my question.
Exactly. You can get 15, like, I think 2 or 3 dates is the equivalent of 1 banana, isn't it? What is the best source? What is the best source?
Well, best food source of potassium is LivingFuel. Second is avocado. Third are leafy greens, but you're going to have 12 servings of leafy greens a day in order to get that.
That's exactly why your product is so amazing, because you know what? I mean, I heard we're supposed to eat a pound of produce a day, and you cannot possibly ingest all the foods in bulk that you're going to, unless you've got a huge appetite. But somebody like me, that's why your product is so important. While we're talking about books, you've written 3 books. The latest one is the SuperHealth Diet, and it's been called the most remarkable nutrition book of the 21st century by Dr. Richard Lippmann, who was the 1996 nominee for the Nobel Prize in Medicine for his work in anti-aging. So can people, what we're talking about now is that most of this information can people find in that book, or which book?
Yes, that is the foundational work. I would say it's 477 pages. It's very deep, and it's really a life's work for me. It's interesting. We've revised that about 3 times over the last decade. And this summer, I got a call from somebody that said, "Hey, KC, do you know that your book is like #1 on Amazon.com and on Barnes & Noble right now?" I go, "Oh, that's interesting," because all I was doing is COVID podcasts called the pandemic town hall, and I wasn't even really talking about my book. So it rivals any book out there because it really is foundational stuff that you need. It has everything from the beginning to the end, how much of this you need, why you should take that. It analyzes all the major diets out there and says, hey, this is the type of diet. If people pick a diet by a name, are you going to a ketogenic diet? Are you doing a low carb diet?
Right.
Carb diet? Are you doing a cookie diet? What are you doing, and how is it working, and how's it working for you? And I would say, generally looking around, it ain't working too good. Excuse my French, but we talk that way in Orlando sometimes. It ain't working too good because you go in a restaurant and you see that the health of people is directly associated with their plate. Look on their plate and then look at their health, and there's a direct association.
Yeah, well, I want to read your book because, I interview a lot of people, and, I've got plant-based people, vegan people. I've got people that say carnivore is the way to go, so I remember walking through Whole Foods a couple of months ago, going down the aisles going, can't have that, can't have that, can't have that. I think I walked away with 3 things. I kid you not, because it gets to a point, it's like, and then there's people like, oh, my grandmother or my grandfather ate that way. But what people have to remember is they're not putting things in food. Like back then, there wasn't the GMOs, there wasn't the pesticides, there wasn't all that. And it's leading up to that. You say that corporate food giants have put profits ahead of people, and too many are suffering from lack of energy and poor health as a result. The obesity epidemic is caused in part by the fact that we are overfed but undernourished. We keep eating even though we are not hungry because our bodies are craving the nutrients we are not getting, and that LivingFuel satisfies the hunger and helps your body to resist unhealthy cravings with just the right amount of protein, carbs, and fat made from organic food, harvested at the peak of freshness. Okay, all that I agree with. And the point where it says at the peak of freshness, because I believe it was Dr. Gundry. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Gundry, and he's all about the lectins. He was saying that too. He says, if you are picking the fruits and the vegetables early, that's where you find the lectins.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think the lectin thing is a bunch of hooey for the most part. I have reviewed he's a very smart guy, and man, he communicates. So he's doing a great job. I'm not trying to tell him he's not, but he's not based on science. Okay. I've reviewed his report, and we don't need to give people more reasons not to eat vegetables. Okay. they got enough.
And that was one of the things I was saying. I love vegetables, and now I'm not eating vegetables. So, everybody has their own opinion. I'm glad that you said that from my account, because I am cutting the seeds out. I'm cutting the tomato seeds out.
Why would anybody cut chia seeds out? I mean, that's one of the most nutritious things there is.
No, I'm talking the seeds of the vegetable. Like he says, the seeds of the tomato and this and that. But let's go back. And let's go to about obesity and being malnutrition. And that's so true, because go ahead. And
here we go. We drive up to the gas station, Americans. Here we are. Okay. We drive up to the gas station. We open our gas cap. We put our nozzle in there, and then we hold it until it clicks a few times and runs down the side of the car, right? We all do that. We try to get it as full as we can. And then we roll down the back seat and we fill the back seat with gasoline. Okay. This is the way we eat. Okay. The gas in the back seat, the car has about as much ability to use that as you do over fueling, particularly in carbohydrates. So, there's only 1 teaspoon of sugar in your bloodstream. But when you sit there and you drink one soft drink and you get, 10 teaspoons of sugar, what do you think happens to that? What do you think? People say, well, I'm getting fat, but I don't know why. My cholesterol's going up. I don't know why. And they stop eating eggs. Now, stand at the omelet line and say, why are you eating egg whites? Well, because my cholesterol's high. Well, that has nothing to do with your cholesterol. It's a drop in the pool. Listen, 200 milligrams per deciliter is an ideal cholesterol level, right? So how does cholesterol, how much cholesterol is in the body? Well, a deciliter, there's 50 to 70 deciliters of blood in the body. So let's do the calculation. Something around 15,000 milligrams exists naturally in your body, in your bloodstream. So when you eat 450 milligrams, it's a drop in the pool, has nothing to do with it. Then we have to take another look. Okay, so wow, that's interesting. That is a physical, medical fact that I happen to still share with doctors today, and they're only now learning it. If you ask your doctor, hey, doctor, what is raising my cholesterol? And he can't answer you, might want to consider another doctor, because he's not helping you. So if you don't know the process, then you don't know how to fix it, right? So here we go. We're now saying, okay, so the problem could it be carbohydrates? Really? Yes, because we're overfueling with carbs. And what happens to a carb when you overfuel it? It's called postprandial hyperlipidemia. I know everybody doesn't need to know that, but it is a cool sounding word and I love to say it. But anyway, so postprandial just means after you eat, okay? So your body gets really good at protecting you from a sugar coma after you have a whole bunch of sugar and then you have dessert. You have carbs and you have whatever, you put it all together. It's the same thing in the body. And so what happens to that after you eat it? It turns into triglyceride, 3 glycerol molecules. Okay, so it basically turns into holds as the fat on the people's body and the triglyceride in their blood, and it turns into LDL cholesterol for the most part. So if you look at the first thing I do when I look at a blood test, okay, what's your blood sugar? Oh, blood sugar is 105 on a fast. And then your triglycerides are at, 1,000. And then your cholesterol is at 250. And you say, hey, what's the problem, doc? Give me meds. No, it's not the problem. The problem is you're overfueling with carbs and your body's becoming a factory to get the sugar out of your blood and to save your life. And this is what we're dealing with. It is so simple. You can drop it like a rock. Let's just talk about triglycerides and cholesterol. If you go away from carbs, if you say, listen, I'm going to go, I'm not talking necessarily ketogenic diet, because ketogenic is not burning fat. Ketogenic, the value of ketogenic is that you get the carbs so low that you know they're low and the insulin is low. Therefore, it keeps you at low insulin because you cannot burn carbs if you have insulin high. Okay, period. So people are walking around with high insulin. This also has to do with food timing. Okay. But right now, if you drop the carbs and you start eating healthy foods and getting all the nutrients that we're talking about, because your body needs what? It needs vitamins, and needs minerals, and needs trace minerals, and needs essential antioxidants, and needs anti-inflammatory nutrition, anti-glycation nutrition, and so on. There's all these things that your body needs, and your body is a miraculous machine. And your body, when it actually gets these nutrients, it can do phenomenal things. Okay, so people are in their situation. I say, well, there's a whole bunch of people that would rather die than change their habit, and they're dying to prove it. You see, you don't have to die young. When you're young, right now, most people listen here, they have the interest in their health. If you have your health right now, take some effort and get healthy. Yep. All 7 of those areas. I'm writing a book about the 8th key, by the way, which I'll talk about at some point. But getting healthy in these areas will have remarkable improvements in your health. Okay, so right now people are walking around, they're feeling no energy. So what do? They eat their breakfast, which is a carb centric thing, right? And then they have coffee, and then they put stuff in their coffee, and then when their blood sugar goes up, okay, what's supposed to happen is your blood sugar say wake up and it's 87. So you eat a breakfast and blood sugar may go up to maybe 100, and then over a 2.5 hour period of time, it'll come back to baseline. And when it gets back to baseline, I call that maximum metabolic mode begins. What does that mean? Comes back to baseline, and now you're starting to have glucagon rise, which pulls the stored nutrients out of your body, right? And stops using what's in your stomach and uses what's stored in your body. But you understand what I'm saying? So from the 2.5 hour mark until the next time you eat, it's completely the maximum metabolic mode. Your body's using the stores. Okay. Right. But guess what happens most of the time? People's adrenals are so worn out that blood sugar goes up and it starts to come down. And then it comes down because it goes too high, it comes too low, it goes below where it started, and they get a little shake. And then they have to, I got to get to the little machine and get me something to eat, or I got to get some more coffee or put some sugar in my coffee, or any of these things. I know I do talk. They say I talk fast, 300 words a minute with gusts up to 550. So I'm sorry if I'm getting excited. It just gets me excited. People can literally change their life here with a simple little podcast. They can hear this podcast and never talk to me again, and their lives will change. You'll add years to your life and life to your years. So what I'm saying is that as you're on that roller coaster, you got no energy, you try to drag yourself with coffee. Well, what people don't realize is that coffee has a 6-hour half-life. What does that mean? That means you start drinking coffee in the morning, you keep yourself up. And by the way, the blood sugar goes up and it never comes down. You never get back to metabolic mode. You stay in high insulin mode, which will not let you burn anything that you stored, and will keep your adrenals looking for more fight or flight, more energy, right? More get me back up. Right. And so they drink into the evenings. They say, I can drink coffee right up to bed and go right to sleep. And that's because you're exhausted. Okay. It's not good for you. But if let's just say you have 400 milligrams of potassium or of calcium at 6 p.m. Okay. That is basically, not to mention all you ate all day, okay? But just say that particular blast of calcium of caffeine. So 6 hours later at 11 p.m., it's just like you just drank 200 milligrams of caffeine. 6 hour half-life. And then you add the rest of the day what you did, you might be getting a blast of 300 or 400 milligrams right there at midnight and wondering why I startle myself awake at night and I can't get back to sleep.
Yep, that was me. That was me. First of all, I'm not doing coffee anymore, but I was doing the bulletproof coffee, the Dave Asprey coffee. And then I was taking all natural by my functional medicine doctor. It's just all natural. There's no sugar, no added things, energy during the day. And I would fall asleep fine. Then I'd wake up and my brain was just on fire. I mean, I would be up from 1 until I had to get up and I couldn't figure it. And then I started putting it together because I'm going, well, that was like 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I could fall asleep because I was tired, but it did keep me up. Let me ask you a question. What did you find out with your wife? What was causing the panic and the fear and all that? Did you find a deficiency in her?
Oh yeah. So in retrospect, we looked at the 7 keys, right? And she evaluated herself.
Okay.
She was like a 4 on the best case scenario on all 7. She was a 4. Okay.
Really?
Wasn't eating. She wasn't eating. She wasn't drinking. She was breastfeeding all the time, demand feeding at night of our kid. And she wasn't doing any prayer time. She wasn't doing any, her stress was super high. Her sleep was not sleep at all. She slept like, anyway, whoever made up slept like a baby as a good thing. They never had a baby. Okay. Because being awake every 2 or 3 hours is not good. Okay.
Yeah.
So she was literally exhausted. So ultimately it was the adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion that causes the panic attack. So that
was me. My adrenals were suffering too. Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that because every time I do a big show like this, people get set free across the country and across the world because I'm going to say something that nobody knows. I don't know why nobody knows it. I've been screaming it for now 25 years, but nobody seems to know this, and your doctor definitely doesn't. So if he's giving you Xanax and Zoloft and those things, that you should run from that situation. But Absolutely. Those things are Band-Aids. Okay. Some people, they work for Band-Aids, but having magnesium and theanine and all kinds of other things will help that. So what is a panic attack? A panic attack is essentially your body, let's say it usually happens within an hour and a half or 2 hours and a half after a carbohydrate intake. Okay. So remember, you were doing the carbohydrates and blood sugar's going up and it starts to come down, and you eat carbohydrates again, it goes up. And this is a cycle. This is the roller coaster that people live on. Okay. Guess what? There's always a payment due. You always have to pay the piper. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're on that roller coaster all the time and your adrenals are holding you up. Your adrenals are holding you up. Now, for ladies who are postmenopausal, the adrenals actually take over for the ovaries. So the adrenals are now double stressed. So if you go into menopause stressed, then coming out of it could be a wild ride. Okay. So what happens? So now you get, So I mean, it's not you. I guarantee thousands of other hands are going up right now too. It happens every single time. So why do people not know this? Listen, the adrenals are so important. It's fight or flight, right? Well, here's something I'm going to tell you. You cannot be in growth and repair and fight or flight at the same time. It doesn't work. Yep. It doesn't work. But people live in fight or flight. Okay. Something is going to crash. People say, oh, I got to take hormone medication. A thyroid medication. Well, guess what? Your adrenals are probably high. Therefore, your thyroid is low. That is just the way it works. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now you're taking thyroid meds trying to balance that out, but you're not really supporting your adrenals. So there's a lot. So what's happening here is that roller coaster goes on and on and on. Some people last longer than others, but guess what? The crash is coming. Now always people with adrenal fatigue, they don't sleep well. Okay. So you know that from yourself always. Well, guess what? The biggest tax on adrenals is lack of sleep. What's the next biggest thing? Leaving the Wi-Fi on while you sleep. What does that do? That taxes your adrenals. That keeps you in high beta brainwave. High beta brainwave sparks.
So you mean your phone and the router?
Both.
So put airplane mode for the phone and unplug the router?
Unplug the router. If it reaches your bedroom, unplug it. Okay. If you can get a signal in your bedroom, and also that watching your phone until you go to sleep. So the blue light, that's
Yeah.
really bad too,
Yeah.
for adrenals.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying here is really quite simple. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Solve the sleep. Now you got to solve all 7. Okay. But first of all, if you can solve the sleep, you will have less adrenal fatigue. If you solve the sleep and then go low carb, you will probably solve it incredibly fast. Now, people are deficient in their diets. You have to have, we talked about essential vitamins, essential minerals, essential trace minerals, essential antioxidants, polyphenolic compounds. There's thousands of those. Okay. If you're deficient in any of those things, you have a crash coming. Okay. So you're trying to use alternative systems to run your body, particularly energy. So people say, I need energy. Give me a Monster energy drink or whatever those things they're doing now, coffee and all those things. Well, guess what? That is a road that exacerbates adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue, what happens is now you finally get in a situation and you had your carbs and you're sitting there and, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm having a heart attack, or I don't know, I got to go to the emergency room. I can't breathe. You know, what is that? That is an adrenal release, just like a bear jumped out in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The adrenals are so tired that boom. Okay. So when the blood sugar falls below the let's say the 85 level, and it goes lower, because now your adrenals are tired. And guess where the signal comes to shut off insulin? From the adrenals. So the insulin's coming down back to base. That's great. It's great. The adrenals are tired. Oh, it didn't send the signal to here. Now you got it. Boom, adrenal release. There's your panic attack. Okay. It's that simple.
Never heard of it. I never heard it explained that way. That's amazing. Okay. So let's get into your product. Speaking of all the, so your product has 90 plus essential nutrients, vitamins, mineral trace minerals, amino acid, fatty acids, over 1,000 vital nutrients, including broad spectrum antioxidants, prebiotics, enzyme, herbs, and then I put etc. because there was a lot more and some that I couldn't pronounce. It's also low calorie, low glycemic, vegan, gluten-free, no fillers, artificial sweeteners, artificial colors, artificial flavors, preservatives, soy, milk, whey, nuts, GMOs, or hydrogenated oils, and no ingredients that come from China. I was like, I had to chuckle after you did that one. Okay. It's the only food in existence formulated to support all 12 body systems: cardiovascular, digestive, endocrine, immune, intergumentary, which I've never heard of before, lymphatic, muscular, nervous, reproductive, respiratory, skeletal, and urinary. What is intergumentary?
It's a good question because I'm not looking at it right now. So you got me.
Okay. All right. So I've heard, is this true that, first of all, you don't have to take supplements if you take this product?
No. Well, it's designed for every foundational requirement of the human body. Now, if you are an adrenal fatigued person over 40, okay, there are supplements that you're going to take that are directly addressed. So therapeutic doses of things, okay, would be beneficial to certain people, like men with prostate issues, or there's all kinds of reasons. So if you got your bases covered, your foundational bases covered, that it's designed that you can live on Living Fuel. It is the only food that you could live, like if you go on an astronaut and you take it breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you can thrive for as long as you want to go. Somebody said the other day, a couple of days ago in my home, they said, hey, what if I had this for multiple meals a day? I said, well, first of all, you just had the most nutritious meal you ever had in your entire life, including your mom's breast milk. Okay. So the question I asked to you, if this is your most nutritious meal you ever had, would it be okay to have it instead of the lesser nutritious things you've been having? Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's the point. So when you deal with every major body system, you know, everything requires nutrients. Everything does. And so you have the foundational needs, there's immune needs, there's all kinds of things where your body needs as a foundation. And so that's the way it's designed. So a lot of people that are not feeling well, doctors will put them on Living Fuel for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 days before they'll even diagnose them, because people don't realize how much the current deficiencies they're dealing with are causing their problems. Mm-hmm. So if you are 40 years old and you don't feel well, I mean, that's really sad, because I mean, even the Bible says,
people, I'm just getting older. No, that's BS. Yeah.
Man's days shall be 120 years. I'm 58 years old. Okay. Me too. And And so still doing all the things I ever did. And so people need to decide, hey, listen, I'll do what it takes. So right now it's hard. It's hard to go from, broke, busted, and disgusted to thriving, and if that's where you are, but you have to start somewhere. And nutrition is 90% of it. It's exercise is a piece of it. But see, what I tell people, don't let your willpower or your won't power drag you into the gym. Let your energy levels take you to the gym. Okay.
Yes.
So when you have a metabolic miracle and your body starts saying, oh, I have everything I need, I can do everything I want, your energy will rise, you'll sleep better, you'll feel better, and then you're off because you're going to go do something. You have to do something with that energy.
Exactly. So how many different products do you have?
Well, it's a very small line. Okay. So 7 products. And we're in our 19th year, we're in our 20th year, actually, 20th year. And in 20 years, there's no company has come out with a close second on any of our products. There is not a close second. Like, for instance, if you say, listen, what kind of B vitamins do you use? Methylcobalamin. Okay. Do you use oxides and carbonates? No, but look at what everyone else uses. Okay. So, you've heard of the folic acid problem what people are having when they have a genetic defects with folic acid or folinic acid. Well, we use what's called 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. What is that? Well, that's the active form of folate. Well, guess what? It doesn't cost $50 a kilo like the kind of folate the folic acid, which is synthetic. It costs several $1,000s a kilo. Okay, that's the way it is all across the line. That's why no one ever says better than LivingFuel or as good as LivingFuel, because it's not. Nothing exists. No food exists after 20 years that's even in the same planet as LivingFuel.
And so what are the products you have? You have.
Okay, so we start with Superberry Ultimate.
Right, the very ultimate.
We started with Super Greens. That's what we started our company with. In fact, my daughter was born on March 25th, 2002. And our company was born the same day. They delivered the product to my house and the person bought it. They're still a customer after 20 years. So we call it the grace of God. She was born, her name is Grace. Oh. And so by the end of that same year, 2002, December 31st, we're in every state in the United States, including Alaska, Hawaii, Guam, and Puerto Rico with no employees. And so we've been doing this ever since, and we're all around the world. And again, I say there's no close second to LivingFuel. So Super Greens is designed as it has more potassium than bananas, more fiber than oatmeal, more protein than half a dozen egg whites, and on and on and on and on and on. And so it started out there, and then from there we started to develop the athletes wanted to have a protein based on the same base, because we have 30 grams a serving of plant-based optimized protein. What does that mean? That means plant-based proteins are deficient in certain sulfur-based amino acids and other amino acids. So we put specific plant-based essential amino acids to make the profile look like you're eating a meat, but it's actually a plant-based product. So start with rice and pea, and then we add in specific amino acids to make the profile look like you're eating whey, which you're not. You're drinking plant-based protein. So we started to make that, and I said, well, how am I going to flavor that? Because back then they didn't taste yummy like they do now, the actual proteins. And so I said, hey, we'll use some freeze-dried berries. Now, freeze-dried berries are expensive, real expensive now, and I pay as much as $95 a kilo for that stuff. But the freeze-dried berries was to flavor it, and I said, wait a minute, I'm not going to flavor this and make a protein. I'm going to make the same thing as LivingFuel Super Greens, but I'm going to make Superberry. So I made Superberry, made the same exact base, but now we have a fruit version, a berry version, organic blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, cranberry. It's the same thing. And then later on, and by the way, the company doubled in 2 months after doing that. I thought there were people going to go away from greens and come to berry and whatever. But so we made the plant-based protein that is now optimized, and it has the prebiotics and probiotics and all these things in it. And so that was an extra product. And then the interesting thing is that we took the Superberry Original and we upgraded it. And then we started to sell it as still Superberry Original. And then I realized how expensive my upgrades were. It's like, oh my goodness, people are going on.
And you're like, you don't have much of a margin, either that.
So what I did was I kept Superberry Ultimate, which I added some spirulina, chlorella, and some other things into it. So it was got actually greens, it had some greens and berry in it. And I went back to the original because people wanted that price point. So we have those 3 things. And then we have something that is extraordinary now. So we've only had it out for a while. It's called LivingFuel Micros. Now, I say people, what are micros? I said, well, when you mix our essential amino acids with our micros, it's essentially like taking our Superberry Ultimate and digesting it down and concentrate it into a little can. So why is that good? Because you can literally, for calories of a cup of coffee, have the same level of nutrition as Superberry Ultimate and no calories whatsoever. So if you're going to go to a meal, any meal you go to, every meal I go to, I have it says 2 scoops, but I have 3 scoops of Superberry, of micros and 2 scoops of aminos. And I have that before I eat anything, because number one, I'm not going to have any cravings for bread or any of that stuff that's on the table. And secondly, I'm going to make every decision I eat based on what I want and not what my cravings are demanding of me. And so it's pretty extraordinary. So basically every meal I get is basically as good as a Superberry Ultimate or a Super Greens, because I do it that way. And then we have
love that. I love that. Yeah. So, it reacts immediately. If you take that before the meal, it eliminates the cravings pretty much immediately.
You don't even have to eat. You can say, listen, I'm just gonna have a salad, or I'm just going to drink, have a nice tea or whatever. You don't have to eat. It's literally
because your body's is absorbing all the nutrients right there.
But if you really want to eat, if you're going to go out and you want to have, people say, can I mix my Bloody Mary with this? I said, well, Bloody Mary is not healthy, but it would be the most healthy it could be if you could put micros in it or LivingFuel, Right. So there's a lot of ways. And so that, and then we have the most incredible EFA, we call antioxidant infused essential fatty acids. So first of all, we start with sardines and anchovy oil, and then we mix it in it full spectrum vitamin E. Now, when you see a EFA, they have 1 milligram or of some kind of like D-alpha tocopherol vitamin E. But see, what we don't realize is vitamin E is not D-alpha tocopherol. It's alpha, beta, gamma, delta. That's the D. D is delta. Alpha, beta, gamma, tocotrienol, alpha, beta, gamma, delta tocopherol. And so vitamin E is 8 fractions. If you don't have 8 fractions, you're not getting the value of 8 fractions. So we infuse the oil with 8 fractions, and then we add GLA from barrage seed oil, because when you add GLA to EPA, from EPA in fish, EPA, DHA. So that is your brain. Your brain is made of those essential fatty acids. But when you add EPA, there's a thing called the prostaglandin 1, 2, and 3, E1, E2, E3. E2 is a arachidonic acid. So it's the delta-6 desaturase enzyme process. I don't want to go too technical here, but I'm saying that adding EPA to adding GLA to EPA actually blocks arachidonic acid and enhances the anti-inflammatory properties. We also include astaxanthin in there, plus the vitamin A at the level of cod liver oil. So it's pretty extraordinary EFA. And so the things we do over the top, and our customers appreciate it.
Fantastic. And all this can be found on your website, which is LivingFuel.com, all the explanations. Yeah, because that's where I found a lot of my information. One more thing before I know that both of our time is sensitive here, but you say that God has called you to help people overcome by knowing the truth and to be all that they can be with their life and their health, and that you walk by faith, not sight. Can you just share about that?
Yeah. So a lot of times when you look at situations that they look awful, life comes at you hard, And so you have to look at the promises. I'm a Christian. So in the Christian tradition, there's a lot of promises in the Bible. And the promises is interesting because people say, do you believe in karma? Yeah, I believe in karma. In the Bible, it's called, as you sow, so also shall you reap. Right. So there's principles of life. And I've been taught this for many years to even to people I mentor, about how in the Bible is ways to live, ways to run your company, ways to treat people. If you do unto others as you do unto yourself, And so there's so many principles in there that literally that's how I discounted the Gundry diet. I really first of all always run my research through the Bible, because the Bible talks about nutrition very much. So if you say, okay, what kind of meats are okay to eat? You go into Leviticus 11 and it says, hey, you eat things that chew the cud and divide the hoof. What does that mean? That means a goat. That means a cow. But it doesn't mean a horse, because it doesn't chew the cud. It divides the hoof. So it's very, very specific on what you can eat and what kind of like shellfish is not a approved food. Well, guess what? That's the one thing. The pig is the one thing that Muslims and Jews and Christians all agree on. Okay, it's probably the only thing. So that the Bible's also in Genesis 1:29. You talk about all the vegans and stuff. See, veganism can become a religion that kills you. because you have so many things. You're basically giving your life because you don't want to eat things that died. But that's part of the process described in Genesis. Genesis 1:29 says nuts and seeds and all the things you're supposed to eat. The things that Gundry says you can't eat. Genesis 1:29, right there, you're supposed to eat it. Okay. And Jesus ate it. So Jesus's diet is in Leviticus 11. So if what I'm selling you conflicts with what the time-honored traditions of life say, I'm sorry, what you're saying is not right. That's been my experience. That's how I came across with the seven areas we deal with and so on. So in my tradition, that the Lord leads you and loves you and guides you and listen, you do things for his glory, which means you do things for others. You don't do things for money. I've never had a salesman work in our company. Okay, so we are trying to help. So when we say my mission is to change lives with the truth and with leading edge high impact superfood nutrition, the truth is anything that is true. And people say the truth will set you free, but that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says you shall know the truth and the truth will make you free. So I'm about helping people know the truth so that truth can make them free. And that could be truth about the Bible. That could be truth about life. It could be truth about nutrition. It could be truth about the vaccines. It could be truth about COVID. It could be whatever. The point is I'm all about truth. And that's what drives me.
Right. And it says in the Bible too, once you know the truth, it's your responsibility to live that truth and to bring it forward. So I think this is a great place to end. It's been amazing having you on. Are there any last takeaways that you'd like to share, KC?
Yes, I hope nothing I said was condemning anybody, because I'm here to bring hope. And hope, hope is the same word as imagination in the Bible. So if you look up Malcolm's faith, hope, and love, and you actually do the research, hope says that it's a positive vision of the future. There's another scripture that says, without a vision, my people perish. What it's saying is, without hope, my people perish. With hopelessness, my people perish. That is a physiologic fact. We know that. So if you're hopeless, the hopeless people that take their lives, it's the hopeless. So what I'm doing is I want to bring you hope. And what your show does is bring hope. I'm trying to bring facts that can change your life radically, and not but by a drug, because the average person over 60 is on 5, 6, 7 drugs. That's not going to be a good path for you to follow, no matter how healthy you have been. So I'm trying to say there are truths that are time honored, that are tested, that are in the research that will set you free. And I want you to know about them and anything we can do. In fact, our mission is not just accomplished by you buying things from us. I don't care if you do or you don't. I really want you to, because it will change your life. I mean, not everybody wants to thrive, but it'll change your life. But what I really want you to do is to get the truth. Get the truth and go out there and make a difference. And then you're going to help somebody else do the same thing.
And do your own research, because just because you're doctored, I mean, just quickly, I had breast cancer and they wanted me to do radiation and tamoxifen. And I've told this a million times, and I didn't do it. I healed myself through nutrition and through foods, and it's been since 2011. So
crazy.
Thank God.
I've been on the documentaries Truth About Cancer. I've been speakers for them and all sort of things. Cancer nutrition has been an area I focused on, and Living Fuel is designed with this in mind. If you eat, there's 4 processes that anybody with cancer listening right now is an important ad. So I'll say it real quick if I can. So there are 4 processes going on that are making the cancer worse. Okay. And if these processes can be stopped, and they can, we know through nutrition, then you can stop the actual cancer itself, theoretically, right? So it's inflammation, oxidation, glycation, angiogenesis. These things are processes that have a positive spin on them when not out of control, but when you regulate them. But when you have them unregulated, it's what makes the cancer thrive and leads to death. So we can stop. We know we can block inflammation, oxidation, glycation, angiogenesis through nutrition better than any drugs that exist.
Absolutely.
And so that's part of the process I want to talk to you about. But man, I am so blessed to be on your show, and
I am so blessed to have you. So everybody go get his book. Well, there's 3 books, but the latest one is the SuperHealth Diet. And where can they find that? Amazon?
Everywhere books are sold. Yeah,
anywhere books are sold. Okay,
the last diet you'll ever need.
All right. And all your products are through your website. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. LivingFuel.com, everybody.
Correct.
Thank you all for being here and joining us today. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. It's Tina Marx TV. And if you've not downloaded my podcast, please do that. It's Transparent with Tina on pretty much every platform. And we will see you all next week.